Good evening to everybody. Honorable State Minister and Secretary Dr. Batagoda and distinguished guests, my colleagues. First of all, I should be thankful to the organization committee for giving us this opportunity to share the experience, actually the planning experience, whatever we are doing in the Sri Lankan Electricity Board, with you. What we will do is actually, even though the introduction says it's integration of renewable energy into the Sri Lankan grid, so the topic we have a little bit changed because the subject is highly technical in nature. So what we are doing is we try to avoid much of the technical materials in the presentation, and then we are trying to generalize the things. Okay, so we have changed the presentation, the present status and the future of the Sri Lankan power system. Actually, what I will do is I will just give the brief introduction. Then my colleague Mr. Buddhika will carry out the main part of the presentation. And when it comes to the transmission and the integration part, so I will then later come and do the presentation part. In the CEB, in all over the world, in the utility, so basically the planning is, they prepare the three plans. The one is actually the generation plan, then the transmission plan, and then the distribution losses, they prepare the distribution plan. So we also, like other utilities, started from the conventional planning. That means we have all these large size of machines like coal, the combined cycle machines, and all those kind of conventional machines. So what we did is we started from the load forecast, and then we matched all this demand with the conventional generators. But now with the renewable energy, introduction of the renewable energy into the system, so what has happened is, due to the variation of this renewable energy, especially the wind and solar, if you see, the wind speed is not constant. So therefore, the output of the wind plant will vary with the system. So therefore, what is happening is, so when the power output is varying with the time, so that has to be made from the balance of the system. And like that way, the solar also, when there's a cloud coverage, so what is happening is, the direct solar irradiation will not come in onto the solar panels, and then what is happening is, the output of the power will vary. So therefore, due to this fluctuation, the planning, the planning process has to be changed. So therefore, we have to follow some integrated approach. So therefore, we need to first do the renewable energy integration plan, and then we have to use the balance power from the conventional plant, and then we need to see these plants together with the system can operate to meet the demand. So that means we need to see the system stability when the things will happen, because the outage can occur at any time. So the tripping of a generator can occur at any time. So therefore, we need to see what is happening. There is a variability of this wind and solar, and also there is a tendency to trip the power plants. And then we need to meet the system stability with all these kind of the contingencies. So therefore, we need to test the stability. So we basically carry out all these kind of technical studies, and then we basically prepare the plan. So that is the outcome of actually the planning exercise. So then, I will give from this onwards to Mr. Buddhika. He will present the generation planning exercise, and then I will do the balance part, just to introduce the transmission system and the transmission planning in the CEB. Thank you very much.
Okay, I am Buddhika Samarasekara, Chief Engineer, Generation Planning, Sri Lanka Electricity Board. First of all, I must thank our State Minister and Dr. Batagoda and JLanka for giving us this opportunity. And actually, we will cover these topics. Maybe this is not directly related to this subject, but you can see how this 90 megawatt derived from the long-term generation expansion plan and what are the future opportunities from the generation planning side, because there are not only this 90 megawatt, there are so many other projects we are talking about. And I will just give us some brief introduction about the present status, then what kind of forecast we are talking about, what are the future capacity additions, then the environmental aspects, then what are the commitments by our Sri Lankan government to the COP21, then comparison of some energy mixes of other countries, then the major generation projects in the pipeline, then other renewable energy, because actually now we have changed this word, because every time we are talking about non-conventional renewable energy, now we change that name for as other renewable energy, because now it's not, we can't say non-conventional, because now we are talking about 100 megawatt scale integration. That means we have to consider those things as major sources. Then that RE integration part, present transmission network developments, and the future transmission investment commitments, and the conclusion will be carried out by the Dr. Wijekoon. He is the Chief Engineer, Transmission Planning. And this is the capacity and energy mix of the Sri Lanka for 2017. You can see we have generated around 14,620 gigawatt hours last year. Out of that, other renewable energy, that means the wind, solar and mini hydro contribution is around 10%. Then the CEB hydro is around 21%, coal 35%, thermal share, IPP thermal share. And still we are having around 10% from the other renewable energy resources. And when you look at overall renewable energy position, it's around 30%. But last year was very dry. Because of that, our major hydro contribution is very low. And this is the renewable energy contribution throughout the history. You can see there are some years we had some more than 60% contribution from the renewable energy resources. That means Sri Lanka can say we were, okay. In typically, we can say 100% renewable energy before 1990s, but now it's around 60%, 65%. Mainly, you can see this is the major hydro. Contribution is more than 50%. Other renewable energies, it depends, mainly mini hydros. But now that is shifted to wind and solar. But now, I think in this forum, we are talking about the solar. And this is the present status of the other renewable energy. Now already there were around 560 megawatt commissioned power plants in Sri Lanka. Out of that, mini hydro around 354, biomass around 26 megawatt. Solar parks, that is I am talking about 10 megawatt level solar parks. Now already we have integrated to the system 51 megawatt. And wind power 128 megawatt, and solar rooftop, I think previously we had around 30 megawatt during 2017 under this battle of Solar Surya Sangramaya. I think with the blessings of the Power and Energy Ministry, we managed more than 100 megawatt in the system. But I think now when you look at the present, today's values, it's more than 150 megawatt. Because actually it's every day accumulating, but the problem is there are so many power plants, I think around 25 to 30 megawatt to be commissioned, now already installed. And government target is around to have 200 megawatt by 2020. I think that we can easily achieve. And this is the actual average unit electricity generation cost. I think this slide I want to emphasize. Why we want to emphasize, because now for this 1 megawatt, we call for a competitive bidding. Because previously we had the feed-in tariff system, it's 2310 Sri Lankan rupees. But now with the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy, we requested and to go ahead with the competitive bidding procedure. Because actually this is our average unit generation cost. Hydro is around, okay, hydro very low, it's around 256 Sri Lankan rupees. Then the CEB coal around 9 Sri Lankan rupees. Then this is the renewable energy. This is the total energy generated and what we have paid. It's around 17 Sri Lankan rupees. Then all the thermal plants, it's more than 25 Sri Lankan rupees. And our average selling price 2015 is 15 Sri Lankan rupees, 2016 18 Sri Lankan rupees, 2017 21 Sri Lankan rupees. Because 2017 you can see a drastic high value mainly because of the drought. Otherwise our general selling point, average selling price is around 16 17 Sri Lankan rupees. And you can see units generated from hydro and coal-based sources would drive the CEB's average generation cost down. At present, that's the situation. But I think with this recent competitive bidding procedure adopted for these solar and wind parks, you can see the prices are now within below our average selling price. I think that's the thing I want to highlight, because our ultimate objective is to reduce the unit generation cost. Then we have to have the power plants below our unit generation cost. That's our main emphasis. That's why we are telling we need to go for a competitive bidding. Because actually we can see, from the ministry can see, CEB can see, ultimately that will pass to the consumers. That's our ultimate objective. And this is the forecast we are going ahead. Actually, Sri Lanka is a still developing country. Because of that, there are so many new commitments from the government. And we are thinking you can say it's exponentially grow, but it's around 5% average demand growth we are expecting for the next 20 years. It's a huge development. Because at present, we are talking about 15,000 gigawatt hour. Within next 20 years, we are talking about almost triple. That's a huge energy contribution. And that energy contribution, we have to find the optimum method. How to cater this energy. Maybe with the thermal power plants, apart from the renewable energy sources. What's the composition? And, okay, with our draft long-term generation plan, we have proposed thermal power-based power plants. Then we have proposed some major hydropower plants. Then the other renewable energy, mainly wind, solar and mini hydro. And also we have proposed pump storage power plants. Here you can see as a single source, we have proposed 2,800 megawatt of renewable energy, other renewable energy, wind, solar, mini hydro and biomass, and major hydro 240. That means 3,000 megawatt of renewable energy we have proposed for next 20 years. But this is a rolling plan, okay? Don't fix into these values. Every 2 years we are updating this plan, maybe with the new improvements, the technology and the cost, these values will enhance. And out of that 2,800 megawatt of renewable energy, with this present plan itself, we are proposing next 20-year horizon addition of wind 1,200 megawatt. In addition to the present values, we are proposing 1,200 megawatt, solar 1,300 megawatt into the system. Okay, mini hydro, there will be less potential. Now almost we have developed all these potential. And biomass, okay, this is just a value, but whatever the biomass project they are proposing, we want to integrate, because we consider as a firm energy power plant. And this is the summary I want to explain, because up to this 2008-70, it's around 560 megawatt we have integrated into the system as a renewable energy, other renewable energy sources. That means up to now we have absorb only around 37 megawatt per year. That's the average we are talking about. But in next 20 years, we are talking about around 150 megawatt per year. Because when you look at this as a per megawatt, you can see, oh, it's a very small value. But when you look at the investment price, it's a 22 billion LKR, or otherwise 150 million US dollars country has to invest per year for this development. Okay, it's a huge amount. It's not a small amount. We are talking purely on the generation power plants wise. I think Dr. Wijekoon will explain about the transmission and this maybe now every power plant now for the 1 megawatt level also, you have to build a, okay, whatever the maybe CEB or you have to connect to the grid. That means someone has to incur the that means 30 kV lines. Then once we have so many power plants, then we have to look into our transmission network as well. That means we have to invest much more high value. Let's say, just for example, this 90 megawatt. Maybe as an individual, if you are interested in 1 megawatt, you are looking at 1 million US dollars. That means you are looking at around 150 million Sri Lankan rupees. But when you look at the 90 megawatt, that means overall, this is not a small project. It's a 13.5 billion Sri Lankan rupees. Okay, I think at present that's the biggest project we are going ahead. And this is the energy mix we are talking about in 2030. That means renewable, we are still trying to maintain. It's a very challenging task because with the growing demand, how to manage this 30-35% renewable energy percentage. That means we now know we don't have major hydros. Previously, we mainly depend on the major hydros. That means country has to shift into the wind and solar. And when you look at the other countries, that means USA, China, other nations, when you look at the renewable energy contribution, Sri Lanka is maintaining, I think with this particular plan itself, we are trying to maintain at least 35% or more renewable energy with this present plan. Okay, but that's the thing. I don't think this is the fixed plan. This will be updated based on the future costs and technologies. Maybe now no one, because when we prepared in our 2015 long-term generation expansion plan, we had only 82 megawatt solar we introduced by 2020. But now with this new plan, we have introduced 410 megawatt. Okay, that's 5 times more. Because but only within this 2 years span. Because that's the way, because I think that's the thing Dr. Wijekoon also tried to explain. With this renewable energy come into the picture, we have to change our planning concepts. And also we have to back with the other, because there are so many variabilities there. I think Dr. Wijekoon will try to explain. To capture those variability as a power utility, we have to have the options. That means it should be an integrated approach we have to look into. And these are the major renewable projects in the pipeline. I think everyone knows Umaoya, Broadland, Moragolla, Talpitigala, Ginganga, and we are going ahead with the pump storage. And actually this pump storage project CEB is going ahead purely, mainly to support for the renewable energy absorption. Because to cater the variability, pump storage would be a best option. And there are 100 megawatt wind park by CEB, and this is the 90 into 1 megawatt solar, because that's the Sri Lankan law. Everyone has to obey the Sri Lankan law. Whatever the power project to be advertised, it should be identified in the long-term generation expansion plan. Because only the power plants identified in the long-term generation expansion plan, we can call for the tenders. Because within this 410 megawatt of solar by 2020, we have split okay, some component for the rooftop, some component to the 1 megawatt park, some to the 10 megawatt level scale, those kind of aspects. And also, we are going ahead with some 100 megawatt level solar park. I will come here. This solar program, we have split into the several ways. One is the 90 into 1 mega, that means 1 megawatt scale. Other one is the 10 megawatt scale. Other one is the utility scale solar parks. Utility scale means we want to develop 100 megawatt solar parks at Punarine and Sri Lanka. Okay, maybe those things we need time because we have to get so many environmental approvals. Then we have to develop the associated transmission network. Those developments may take time, but there will be a future opportunities for the solar developments in the Punarine and Siamalanduwa. Then also we are talking about the floating type, then the highway. There are so many concepts we are talking about for the solar. And for the wind also, we are going ahead with nearly 600 megawatt development, mainly in Mana and the Punari. That means our next best renewable energy option is the wind. I think now with the ministry we are talking about the Punarin development. We will call tenders for the Punarin maybe end of this year. Because for this kind of park, we have to get so many clearances. That means so many statutory clearances are there we have to get. And the major thermal power plants, because we can't forget the thermal developments as a utility, we have to look into overall aspects, because now we have already called for the 300 megawatt natural gas combined cycle power plants. That's the first power plant we have called for bids using the liquefied natural gas. Now we think that, okay, maybe that will commission by 2020, and we expect LNG liquefied natural gas to be available by 2020. And there are other power plants in 2021, 2024 also we want to build some more LNG power plants. Then we are going ahead with, okay, it's depend on the government policies. We can't, because as a planning branch of the CEB, we can't give up or we can't eliminate any candidate options. That means we have to look into every option. We are looking for a high efficient eco-friendly coal power plant. That study is also going on. Depending on the government policies, country will develop. That option is available. And with that, I will conclude my one. Okay, maybe if you have any further questions, we will be here. We can discuss. I think from here, Dr. Wijekoon will explain you about the renewable energy studies we are carrying out and the transmission network studies. Thank you very much.
Okay, so this slide illustrate you the process actually, any renewable energy integration plan. So what you have to do is we have to start from the resource assessment. So that means we have to identify the potential sites. The potential site means, for an example, where you have the wind sites with large scale development, and where you have rich solar irradiation level sites, and where you have mini hydro, the hydro sites. So like that, you need to first identify potential sites. So once you identify those resource assessment, that means when you evaluate or assess the resource, then you need to find, because sometimes you identify that our resource assessment is 25,000 megawatt of wind in Sri Lanka, so you can go up to that level. But when it's come to the practically, what is the possibility? So that means it depends on the land availability, because some areas it is a reserve forest, and some areas you have some wildlife sanctuaries and like that. So we have to filter out all those kind of things from this as the resource identification. So then you need to find what is practically possible to develop. So that is called actually the technical potential. So actually Sri Lanka, we have identified all almost all the available resources throughout the island. I mean, that has been done through a ADB, technical assistance study. So then we know where the wind can develop, where the solar can develop, and also the hydro potential, and all those kind of things we have identified. And then once you identify that one, so we need to carry out we need to connect these all these generation into the transmission network, and then we need to identify what is the impact for the transmission network. That means we need to identify what are the range modes that has to be done to the existing network, and then what is the things what are the requirements that has to be fulfilled in order to make the stability of the system. Like that, all things have to be studied in detail. So then, once that is done, so we have to carry out the operational study. So that means operational study means it's a day-to-day dispatch level, because in any electrical system it is highly dynamic. So the load varies every time, and also you need to match the generation. So like that, we need to see the operational restrictions. That means, for an example, some coal plants, so the major plants, you can't deload to a very low level. So for an example, some coal plants you can deload maybe you can deload up to only 50% or some 25%. So like that, when you are carrying out the operational study, you have to meet these restrictions. And also, there are other restrictions like the hydro. So for an example, say, if we are taking support from the running wind and solar through the hydro turbines, then we need to see what is the availability of the water. So then, what are the water restrictions? And like that, we need to take all those restrictions into effect and then carry out the operational study. So then, we have to see whatever we have assessed from the transmission impact study, and it is possible to run in the system. So that we basically do the operational study. So then after that, we prioritize the site depending on the most suitable or the highest plant factor sites, and then we will develop. So that is actually the whole process, just to give you an idea. And this tell you what are in detail, the methodologies, what we basically carried out. The operational study, you need a lot of data. So starting from hydrology, maybe for 50 years. So that kind of data, much of data is required for this analysis. And wind and solar, so you need sometimes 1 minute data, 10 minutes data. So it is also you need to require maybe for last 3 years, 4 years, because every year you can see the wind pattern is changing. So this data is required to see what is the daily profile of your wind and solar, how this wind is varying in a daily, and how the solar irradiation is varying on daily basis. And like that, you need to carry out the daily dispatch schedule based on the available solar in this year, this much, wind this hour, this much, and like that. So the balance we need to meet from the conventional generation. So like that, we need to get lot of data involvement. And in the case of the plants, so all these plant parameters, it's a tremendous amount of data has to be gathered for carrying out the detailed technical study. I think this study itself takes maybe about 3 to 6 months. We involve 3 branches: operation branch, and then the generation plan branch, transmission plan branch. So sometimes one daily run, it takes maybe 3 to 4 days in a computer. So like that, we have to carry out these kind of things. So that is finally we get this amount of each and every year. This is the wind we can integrate, and this is the solar we can integrate each and every year, and this is the conventional part just to meet the gap. So I'm not going to explain detail because it involves a lot of technical things. So this is basically we carried out 3 studies: operation studies, the network study, and then the generation planning study. So all those 3 studies are carried out by 3 branches in CEB, and then we integrate this into the one plan. So that is coming as a transmission and generation plan, 2 books, generation plan in one book and transmission plan in another book. And this is just to show you, this is the existing transmission network. And you can see that, so we have about 70 number of grid substations. Some grid substations are daily, directly feeding the loads. Some are just taking the power from high voltage 220 kV level to the 132 kV level and then going to the distribution side. And about 600 kilometers of 220 kV and then about 2,400 kilometers of 132 kV. And so then according to our plans, you can see this is the existing one, the 2017, and it will be developed to the 2021. You can see the lot of addition of the high voltage network, especially the 220 kV network. So you can see it is running to the northern side, mainly to integrate the renewables. So you can see one line is coming from the MENA. So that is for the MENA 100 megawatt renewable energy power evacuation. And then we have Punarin development. And also in order to improve the power, the stability and also to cater for the loads in the southern side. So we are having the line in the Paulpitiya side to Hambantota. So that is what we expected in 2021. So like that way, we will have the continuous the year-wise development, and then we will have what are the lines that was integrated into the system in 2025, and then up to 2037. So from this onwards, we have a plan for 20 years, and then we are tested for each and every year. So you can see this is the backbone network of Sri Lanka in 2037. So you can see there is a lot of developments because the transmission, the generation you can develop phase-wise, but transmission you can't develop phase-wise, because if you are going to develop 1,000 megawatt, 1,200 megawatt in one site, say for an example, Hambantota, or in Orachole, 900 megawatt. So we can develop 900 megawatt maybe in the 3 phases, 300 megawatt in one phase, the next phase another 300, the other phase another 300, like that in 900 we can develop in that way. But transmission line you can't do. The transmission line, you have to match total generation in that site. So because you have to have one corridor or maybe another alternative route, there may be 2 corridors which are coming to the load centers. So then you have to have the one-time investment. So therefore it's very critical to have the proper generation plan in order to invest the transmission. The transmission you can't develop phase-wise. So you have to rate the conductors to meet the total generation in one site. Right? So like that way, so we need to develop. And you can see this is just to give an idea. So how much investment we are, how much we have invested for the transmission development. So the blue one, so the projects where the funds have been committed, and the other one is what is in the red color. So those are for which the transmission project which requires funding. So if you see that present, about 1,000 million US dollar projects, worth of projects are being carried out in the transmission network. So that means 1 billion US dollar worth of projects are being implemented now. These are ongoing projects. And okay, so that is mainly about the transmission network. And also we have estimated in order to integrate the renewables, we need to invest annually about 50 million US dollars per annum for the strengthening the transmission network to cater for the renewable energy development. So that is, in brief, what we have. So if you have any question, you can ask. We are there. Thank you very much.